Are you tired of feeling stuck, waiting for that elusive burst of inspiration to magically hit you? Here's the harsh truth. Creativity isn't some mystical force you have to wait for. It's a skill you can actively cultivate. In this video, we're going to blow up the traditional myths about creativity and innovation and replace them with real pragmatic strategies that you can start using today. No more sitting around hoping for a moment of genius. We're talking about taking action, making things happen, and shifting your mindset so that creativity becomes a daily habit, not a random occurrence. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll have the tools and mindset to not just boost your creativity, but to break through barriers and innovate like never before. Don't just watch. Take control of your creative potential, and let's dive in. You won't want to miss this. Number 1. Embrace productive procrastination. Let's talk about something that sounds like it could be the worst advice ever. Productive procrastination. Yes, you heard me right. The very thing you're told to avoid at all costs can actually be the key to unlocking your most creative ideas. Now, you might be thinking, wait, isn't procrastination the enemy of productivity? How is it productive? Stick with me here, because I promise this is going to challenge everything you've been told about time management and creativity. We've all been there, right? You've got a project due, deadlines are looming, and your mind is racing with all the things you should be doing. But instead of getting started, you find yourself scrolling through social media or organizing your desk for the 5th time this week. It feels like you're just wasting time. But here's the twist. What if that wasted time isn't wasted at all? What if your brain is actually working on something more valuable in those moments of procrastination? The truth is, creative breakthroughs often happen when you're not forcing them. When you stop obsessing over getting everything perfect right now, your mind can do the heavy lifting in the background. Here's the deal. Productive procrastination is all about stepping away from your work intentionally. Instead of beating yourself up for not being on task, you embrace the downtime and let your brain breathe. Maybe you take a walk, do some dishes, or even just sit and stare out the window. Sound counterintuitive? That's because it is. But studies show that when we step away from a problem, our subconscious continues to process ideas and make connections that we can't access when we're focused too hard on the task at hand. It's like your brain's way of taking a mini vacation, so it comes back sharper and more innovative. Let me tell you about a time this idea really clicked for me. I was working on a big video editing project. Lots of clips to cut, transitions to perfect, and all of it had to be done by midnight. I started, but after an hour of staring at the screen, my brain just froze. So I decided to take a break. I made a cup of coffee, walked around the block, and basically wasted 20 minutes. When I came back, suddenly I had new ideas about how to structure the video, fresh perspectives on the transitions, and it all flowed together. That wasted time. It wasn't wasted at all. It was my brain's way of sorting things out. By embracing this form of procrastination, you're giving yourself permission to let go of the guilt. You're not being lazy. You're allowing your mind to do what it does best: connect dots, solve problems, and come up with creative solutions that you wouldn't have found by sitting in front of the screen and forcing yourself to work. And here's the beauty of it. By incorporating productive procrastination into your routine, you're not just creating better work, you're reclaiming your peace of mind. You're telling yourself that it's okay to step away, to take a breather, and to trust the process. You don't have to be on all the time to be productive. The pressure we put on ourselves to always be working is often the very thing that stifles creativity. So go ahead, take that break, embrace the pause, and watch your creativity soar. Your ideas, your flow, and your brilliance will thank you for it. Embrace productive procrastination and remember, it's your space, your peace, and your innovation. You've got this. Number 2. Destroy your routine. Purposefully. What if I told you that the secret to unlocking your fullest potential lies in destroying your daily routine on purpose? Yes, you heard that right. You might be thinking, but routines are supposed to keep us productive, right? I get it. Routines can feel like the backbone of our lives, like the thing that keeps us from losing our minds. But hear me out. Sometimes, breaking the mold is exactly what we need to push ourselves to new levels of creativity and growth. You know the type. You wake up, go through the same motions, work, eat, sleep, and repeat. It's like being stuck on autopilot, isn't it? We've all been there, day after day, doing the same things without even thinking about it. It feels safe, it feels comfortable. But here's the catch. That routine you're so attached to might also be keeping you trapped in a loop, limiting your growth and creativity. That's why shaking things up is actually a game changer. I'm talking about purposefully breaking your routine, not just to shake things up, but to give your brain the freedom to think, explore, and innovate. It sounds wild, but this kind of intentional disruption can reset your brain's creativity switch. Think about it. When was the last time you did something totally out of the ordinary? When did you last step off the treadmill of life and really allow yourself to think differently? Let me give you an example. A few months ago, I found myself in the same routine for weeks. Wake up at the same time, eat the same breakfast, work in the same spot. I wasn't feeling inspired, and honestly, everything started feeling a bit stale. So, I decided to purposefully destroy my routine. I woke up an hour earlier, went to a completely different cafe to work, and even changed my work hours to see how it felt. At first, it felt like chaos, but within days, my creativity exploded. I was brainstorming new ideas I hadn't thought of in months. Why? Because my brain was forced to adapt to new stimuli, to break free from the predictable patterns I had been stuck in. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. This sounds like a lot of effort. Why not just stick to what works? And you're not wrong. Routines do work for efficiency. But here's the truth. If you want to evolve, you've got to stop doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. Breaking your routine purposefully is like hitting the reset button on your mind. It's about giving yourself the space to breathe, think, and create without being bound by yesterday's habits. Here's the thing. Disrupting your routine isn't just about the excitement or novelty, it's about growth. It's about breaking free from autopilot and stepping into the driver's seat of your own potential. It's about creating new pathways in your brain, challenging your thinking, and taking risks that you'd never take within the comfort of your usual routine. So, if you've been stuck in a loop, this is your sign. Destroy your routine, shake things up, and watch how you start to thrive. It's about reclaiming your space, your time, and your life. You've got the power to change things up whenever you need to. And trust me, the growth you'll see on the other side is worth every bit of discomfort. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. It's your space, your future, and your evolution. Own it. Number 3, limit resources to unlock ideas. What if I told you that the best way to unlock your most brilliant ideas is to limit the very resources you think you need? Sounds counterproductive, right? You're probably wondering, why would I purposely restrict myself when I could have access to everything? Yes, trust me on this. Sometimes less is actually more. We've all been there, trying to finish a project and thinking we need more time, more tools, or more help. The idea of tackling something with less feels like setting yourself up for failure. But here's the twist. By purposely limiting the resources available to you, you're forcing yourself to think in new, creative ways. It's like putting yourself in a box that actually expands your thinking. Now, you might be skeptical, but stay with me. There's a reason this works. Here's the thing. When you have everything at your fingertips, it's easy to fall into the trap of overthinking or trying to make things perfect. But when you don't have everything you want, you get more resourceful. You start thinking outside the box, literally and figuratively. You use what you have and come up with solutions you'd never have imagined if you had an endless array of options. It's like solving a puzzle with half the pieces. You're forced to get creative with what you've got. I'll tell you a story from my own life. A few months ago, I was working on a big video project. I had all the software, all the effects, all the plugins I could dream of. But I was stuck. I had too many choices, too many options, and no clear direction. So I decided to put restrictions on myself. No extra plugins, no fancy effects, just the basics. At first, it felt like a huge step back, but once I embraced the challenge, something amazing happened. I came up with fresh, inventive ways to create impact, using only the most basic tools. The project turned out better than I expected, and I had this sense of pride in knowing I could create something powerful with minimal resources. Limiting your resources isn't about making your life harder. It's about challenging yourself to think differently. It's about learning to do more with less and trusting your own creativity. It's like taking away the crutches and walking on your own 2 feet. This is how you build confidence in your own abilities and push yourself to innovate in ways you hadn't thought of before. At the end of the day, this is about reclaiming your space, your creativity, and your ability to think independently. When you limit your resources, you're not just simplifying the problem, you're giving yourself the freedom to find unique, powerful solutions. You don't need everything to succeed. You need the courage to work with what you've got and trust yourself to make it work. So the next time you're feeling overwhelmed by options, try embracing limitation. It's your space, your challenge, and your opportunity to create something truly remarkable. You've got everything you need. You just have to find a way to make it work. Number 4, get comfortable with bad ideas. What if I told you that the key to having great ideas is to get comfortable with the bad ones first? Sounds strange, right? I know, you're probably thinking, why would I waste time with bad ideas? But trust me on this. Embracing the not-so-great ideas is actually the first step to hitting on something amazing. We've all been there, sitting in a meeting, brainstorming, or even just thinking to ourselves, and the ideas that come to mind just don't feel like they're good enough. You might think, this is terrible, I need something better. We've all experienced that nagging feeling of self-doubt when an idea just doesn't seem like it fits. But here's the thing, most of the time, it's those bad ideas that lead to the breakthroughs. You've probably heard that there's no such thing as a bad idea, but here's the twist. Getting comfortable with what seems bad is where the magic begins. Now, I'm not saying you should act on every bad idea you have. Of course not. But when you start letting yourself come up with the ones that seem silly or impractical, you're actually setting yourself up to think outside the box. The trick is to allow yourself the freedom to think wildly without judgment. Why? Because your brain is a creative machine, and sometimes it needs a little nudge to move away from what's safe. When you push past the judgment, even the bad ideas can spark something innovative. Here's a real-life example from my own experience. A few years ago, I was stuck working on a project, and the ideas I was coming up with felt dull and uninspired. I was trying to force the perfect solution, and it wasn't working. I finally gave in and allowed myself to entertain what I thought were ridiculous ideas, like using completely unrelated concepts or even mixing random styles. The result? I discovered a new way to approach the project that felt fresh and exciting. something I would never have arrived at if I hadn't let myself explore the bad ones first. The truth is, when we get comfortable with the so-called bad ideas, we stop limiting ourselves. It's about freeing your mind from that internal critic and letting your creativity flow. You might not use every idea that comes up, but by letting those bad ideas out, you create space for the good ones to emerge. It's a process of trial, error, and iteration, and it's the only way to get to that breakthrough moment. This is about reclaiming your creativity, your freedom to think, and your confidence in letting go of perfection. We all have that voice that says, "This isn't good enough." But when you start letting go of that fear and embracing the messy, imperfect ideas, you're giving yourself permission to grow. So next time you find yourself stuck or overthinking, try this. Embrace the bad ideas. Let them come, let them breathe, and see where they lead you. Your creativity thrives in the space between perfection and chaos. And it's about owning that process. It's your mind, your ideas, and your journey to greatness. You've got this. Bad ideas and all. Number 5. Incorporate randomness into problem solving. What if I told you that the key to solving your toughest problems could be randomness? Yeah, I know it sounds like I'm joking, but trust me, embracing randomness might just be the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Now, I can almost hear you thinking, how on earth can random stuff help me solve a problem? Well, let me explain why this might just be the most unconventional yet powerful idea you've ever tried. We've all been there, sitting in front of a problem that seems to have no clear solution. Whether it's work, a personal challenge, or even just trying to figure out what to have for dinner, it feels like you're spinning in circles, right? We end up overthinking, obsessing over every possible detail, and stressing ourselves out, hoping that by sheer effort, the answer will just fall into place. But here's the catch. Sometimes the more we focus, the more we limit our options, and that's where randomness steps in. Randomness isn't chaos. It's a way to break free from rigid patterns and expectations. When you introduce a little unpredictability, your brain is forced to think outside of its usual comfort zone. The thing is, when we're too focused on a single approach or solution, we overlook the brilliant ideas hiding just outside our routine thinking. But when you throw randomness into the mix, you're essentially unlocking a floodgate of possibilities. It's like opening a window when you've been sitting in a stuffy room for hours. Suddenly, everything feels fresher, and your mind starts to see things from a completely different angle. Let me share a real example. A while back, I was facing a major creative block with a project I was working on. I tried all the usual tricks, brainstorming, writing out lists, and even trying to step away for a bit, but nothing was clicking. So, I decided to get a little random. I went for a walk and threw a couple of unrelated things into the mix. I grabbed a book off the shelf that had nothing to do with my project, watched a random YouTube video on a topic I knew nothing about, and let myself just wander without any real plan. It was as if the randomness gave my mind the space to connect dots in ways I never would have considered if I'd stuck to my usual process. By the end of the day, I had a completely new perspective, and the solution I was stuck on suddenly felt obvious. The beauty of incorporating randomness is that it takes the pressure off. It's about allowing yourself to let go of the constant need for control and perfection. When you do that, you give your brain permission to explore and play, and that's when creativity really flourishes. You see, your best ideas aren't going to come from grinding away at the same thing over and over. They come when you give yourself the freedom to experience something unexpected, even if it feels a little chaotic at first. By introducing randomness, you're reclaiming the freedom to think without boundaries. It's a chance to break free from the mental cages we build for ourselves, and it's liberating. This isn't just about solving problems, It's about giving yourself permission to think freely, to make mistakes, and to not always have everything figured out. When you embrace randomness, you stop fighting with your own creativity and start letting it lead you to unexpected, yet incredibly rewarding solutions. So, the next time you're stuck, try adding a little randomness into the mix. Whether it's changing up your environment, trying a new activity, or just doing something completely different, give your mind the freedom to wander. You never know, the answer might just be a random step away from where you've been looking. Embrace it and let your creativity roam. Number 6. Collaborate with people outside your field. Ever feel like you're stuck in a rut, churning out the same ideas over and over? What if I told you that the secret to breaking free from that cycle might lie in something you'd never expect? Collaborating with people outside your field. Yes, you heard me right. The solution to your creative block might just come from a completely different world. Now, I know you might be thinking, but how can someone from a totally different field help me with my work? Trust me, just stick with me for a minute. We've all been there, spending hours, even days, working on a project and feeling like we're not making progress. The ideas get stale, and you start doubting your own creativity. It's frustrating, right? You feel like you've explored every angle within your expertise, but nothing's landing. The solution: breaking out of that bubble and talking to someone who doesn't know the ins and outs of your field. Why? Because they're not confined by the same limitations. They see things from an entirely fresh perspective, and that's where the magic happens. The beauty of collaborating with someone outside your field is that they bring a completely different lens to the table. They might ask questions that never occurred to you, or suggest ideas that seem totally off the wall, but end up being exactly what you needed. Think about it. If you're constantly talking to people who share your background, you're all looking at the same set of tools and ideas. But when you bring in someone who sees the world differently, suddenly you're opening up a whole new range of possibilities. Let me give you an example from my own experience. A few months ago, I was working on a project that felt like it was going nowhere. I was deep in the weeds, trying to perfect every little detail, but I just couldn't get the right flow. I mentioned this to a friend of mine who's a professional dancer. At first I thought, what could a dancer possibly contribute to a video editing project? But when I told her what I was working on, she casually suggested that I think about rhythm in the pacing of my edits, just like how dancers use rhythm in choreography. At first, I thought she was joking, but then something clicked. I started experimenting with pacing in a way I never had before, and suddenly the project came to life. It was the perfect solution that I couldn't have reached on my own, just by thinking within my own field. Collaborating with people from different fields isn't just about getting fresh ideas, it's about personal growth too. It challenges you to expand your thinking, to step outside of your comfort zone, and to approach problems in a way that's never occurred to you. It's about giving yourself permission to learn from someone else's expertise and trust that their perspective is valuable, even if it doesn't seem immediately relevant. Here's the thing: we all want to be experts, and that's great. But sometimes, being an expert in one area can trap us into thinking there's only one way to approach a problem. When you collaborate with people from outside your field, you're embracing the unknown. You're saying, I don't have all the answers, and that's okay. And in that openness, real breakthroughs happen. So, the next time you find yourself stuck or looking for that elusive spark of inspiration, think about who you could collaborate with, someone from a totally different background. You'll be amazed at how much you can learn and how many new doors open up when you step outside your comfort zone. It's not just about expanding your network, it's about expanding your mind. Your ideas, your creativity, and your work will thank you for it. Number 7. Let yourself fail fast and publicly. What if I told you that the secret to success isn't avoiding failure at all costs, but embracing it, fast and in public? Yes, I know it sounds a little crazy. We've all been taught that failure is something to hide, something to avoid, and something to recover from as quickly as possible. But what if the fastest way to actually succeed is to fail openly and embrace those lessons head-on? I can already hear the skepticism. Isn't that a bit risky? Yes, trust me on this, it's a game changer. We've all been there. You're working on a big project, putting in all your effort, but deep down, you're terrified of making a mistake. You've probably second-guessed every step, overthought every detail, and avoided making decisions because you didn't want to risk failure. But guess what? The more you try to avoid it, the more it'll haunt you. The more you overthink, the more likely you'll stall and never make any real progress. Sound familiar? It's the all-too-common fear of failure holding us back. Now here's the twist. What if we stopped fearing failure and just failed fast? What if we let ourselves make mistakes quickly and publicly? Here's the secret. The faster you fail, the quicker you learn. And not only that, but by being open about your failures, you invite feedback and collaboration. You stop hiding in the shadows and you create an environment where growth happens. I know it might sound a little like, "What are you talking about?" But hear me out. The faster you try something, mess up, and learn from it, the faster you'll improve. Let me tell you a personal story. I remember a time when I was working on a video project, and I had this great idea for a new style I wanted to try, but I was terrified of failing publicly. I didn't want anyone to see me screw it up. But instead of playing it safe and working behind the scenes, I decided to share my process openly with my team and on social media. It was a little nerve-wracking, but here's the twist. I failed. Hard. I thought it would be a disaster, and yes, it wasn't perfect. But what happened next was amazing. People reached out with advice, others shared their own similar experiences, and most importantly, I learned what not to do, and fast. By failing openly, I accelerated my learning and avoided making the same mistake down the line. The real power of this strategy isn't just in the failure, it's in the lessons and growth that come from it. When you fail fast and publicly, you stop letting fear control you. You reclaim your space and your right to learn without shame. This is about freeing yourself from the perfectionist trap that so many of us fall into. Instead of striving for flawless execution, you're focused on learning and adapting. It's not about never failing. It's about failing quickly, learning quickly, and moving forward with confidence. So, if you're sitting there wondering how to overcome that fear of messing up, here's your answer. Lean into it. Let yourself fail. Do it fast, do it publicly, and embrace the feedback. You'll come out the other side stronger, more knowledgeable, and way more resilient. This isn't about avoiding failure. It's about turning failure into your best friend and ally. The more you fail, the faster you grow, and that's the real key to success. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video gave you some valuable insights into practical ways to boost your creativity and innovation. If you found these strategies helpful, please hit the like button to show your support. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more content on topics like this, where we dive deep into ways to unlock your full potential. If you know someone who could benefit from this, share the video with them. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and share your own experiences with creativity or any tips you've used to stay innovative. Remember, creativity isn't just for the lucky few. It's something we all can develop with the right mindset and tools. Keep pushing the boundaries of what you can achieve, and I'll see you in the next video.